The following chapter contains description of murder and violence. Journey to the West, an audio drama series. Chapter 31, Part 2. We now go to Ba Jian Sha monk who brought the children back to the precious elephant kingdom, and on to the white jade steppes they threw the boys. The poor things were smashed into patties as their blood spilled and bones shattered. Horrified, the officials reported, "Terrible, terrible, 2 people were thrown from the skies." In a loud voice, Ba Jie shouted, "These children are the sons of the yellow-robed monster. Old Bo brought them here with my younger brother Sha." The monster was in the hold of Silverpiece, still asleep with a hangover. In his dreams, he heard someone call his name, so he turned over and looked up. What he saw was Zhu Bajie and Sha monk yelling from the clouds. The monster secretly thought to himself, "I can understand why Zhu Bajie is here, but I tied Sha monk up at home. How did he get out? Why would my wife let him go? How did my children get into their hands? This may be a trick to enrage me because Zhu Bajie could not get me to go out and fight him. If I take the bait and fight him, alas, I'm still rather drunk. If he were to strike me even once with the rake, that would hurt my aura and expose my weaknesses. I should head home now and see whether they really are my sons or not before engaging with him." Splendid monster! He then bid farewell to the imperial throne as he made his way through the mountains and forests, heading straight back to the cave to find out more. By that time, the palace was well aware that he was a monster. As it happened, when he ate a palace maid during the night, there were 17 of them who escaped alive. By the 5th watch, they reported to the king about what took place. And now, because he left without saying goodbye, they knew most certainly that he was a monster. The king therefore ordered many officials to guard the fake tiger. We will speak no more on that. We go now to the monster who returned straight to the cave entrance. Xingzhe saw him coming and squeezed his eyes a little, making tears drop like rain while calling for their sons. To be even more convincing as the princess, he stomped with his feet and beat his own chest, wailing loudly in the cave. The monster could not recognize his identity right away, so he went up and held the princess, asking, "My dear, what's the matter? Why are you so distraught?" The great sage made up empty words and false tales, replying in tears, "Oh, my darling, as the saying goes, if a man has no wife, his fortune will have no owner. If a woman has no husband, she will be a lost person. After you went to the palace to present yourself as kin, why didn't you return? This morning, Zhu Bajie seized Sha monk from us before taking my 2 children. Despite my desperate pleas, they would not spare them, even saying they would take the boys to the court to meet their maternal grandfather. I haven't seen them for most of the day and have no idea if they are even still alive. And you weren't on your way home either. How was I supposed to cope with all the loss? That was why I couldn't help but cry out in sorrow." The monster heard her words and asked in fury, "They were really my sons?" Xingzhe answered, "Yes, they were taken by Zhu Bajie." The monster became so enraged that he jumped up and down, saying, That's it! My sons have been thrown to their deaths. I cannot bring them back to life now. All I can do is bring the monks here to pay for my sons with their own lives. My dear, don't you cry for now. How are you feeling in your heart? I can make you feel better." Xingzhe answered, "There is nothing wrong with me. It's just that I miss my boys so much that all the crying is making my heart ache." The monster said, "That's nothing. Please get up. I've got a treasure here. As long as you rub it against where it hurts, the pain will stop. You do have to be careful, though. Do not flick it with your thumb. If you do that, you will see my true form." Xingzhe heard that and secretly laughed in his mind, thinking, "This lousy monster is quite honest, as it turns out. I haven't even used violence yet, and he is spilling everything on his own. When he brings the treasure over, I will try to flick it and see what sort of monster he is." The monster then took Xingzhe all the way into the secluded depths of the cave before spitting out a treasure from his mouth. It was an exquisite internal pellet in the shape of the shaluyu and the size of an egg. Secretly delighted, Xingzhe thought, What a fine thing! Who knows how much meditating, how many years fighting off ordeals, and how many rounds of mating it took for this eternal pellet to materialize. What great destiny that it comes across Elder Sun today. The monkey snatched it over and, since he wasn't hurt anywhere, purposely stroked it all over before flicking it with a finger. The monster panicked and reached out to grab it. Think about how agile that monkey is. In one gulp, he swallowed the treasure into his stomach. The monster clenched his fist to hit him, but Xingzhe held him up with one hand while wiping his face with the other, showing his true form. He cried, "Monster, watch your manners. Have a careful look and see who I am." The monster saw it and shouted in shock. "Ah, my darling, how did you end up with such a face?" Xingzhe shouted, "You cursed beast with no manners. Who even is your darling? Can't you recognize your ancestor?" Suddenly realizing something, the monster said, "You seem familiar." Xingzhe said, "I won't beat you for now. Look more carefully." The monster said, "I do find you familiar, but I can't remember your name from the top of my head." "Who even are you? Where do you come from? And where did you put my wife? How dare you come into my home and swindle me out of my treasure? You truly are unreasonably reprehensible." Xingzhe said, "You might not recognize me, but I am the eldest disciple of the Tang monk named Sun Wukong Xingzhe. I am your ancestor from 500 years ago." The monster replied, "No such thing. There is no such thing. When I caught the Tang monk, I only learned that he had 2 disciples called Zhu Bajie and Sha monk. Who has ever heard of anyone named Sun? You must be some monster out of nowhere who's here to fool me." Xingzhe explained, "I wasn't with the 2 of them before. Because Elder Sun had a habit of killing monsters and committing lots of violence, my master, who is a merciful and kind man, banished me. That is why I wasn't traveling with them. You have no idea who your ancestor is." The monster said, "That's not very becoming of a man. If your master already banished you, what right do you have to show your face again?" Xingzhe retorted, "You insolent monster! You certainly don't know the meaning of to be teacher for a day is to be parent for a lifetime, and that there is never overnight enmity between father and son. You hurt my master. How could I not come save him? Hurting him is one thing, but insulting me behind my back is another. How do you explain that?" The monster asked, "When have I ever insulted you?" Xingzhe said, "Zhu Bajie told me you did." The monster said, "Don't you believe him? That Zhu Bajie with his pointy mouth knows nothing but gossip. Why listen to him at all?" Xingzhe replied, "No need for the useless chatter now. We speak only of Elder Sun's visit to your home today. You have been very negligent in treating this guest from afar. I may not be welcomed with wine and treats, but your head is available. Quickly present your head so Elder Sun can give it a strike with the rod. That shall serve as tea." The monster heard him bring up fighting and burst into laughter, saying, "Sun Xingzhe, that's quite the misjudgment of you. If you wanted to fight, you shouldn't have come inside with me. In here I've got imps big and small, totaling over 100. Even if you had a body full of hands, you wouldn't be able to fight your way out of my gate." Xingzhe said, "Don't you spill nonsense. Speak not of over 100 imps. Even if you had thousands or tens of thousands of them, all it takes is to call them out one by one for me to hit. I will make sure not to miss a single strike, and that your roots will be forever broken for good." The monster heard that and quickly sent out an order, gathering all the monsters and beasts from around the mountain and the cave. They all assembled and held their own weapons, creating a thick barricade at each of their several gates. Xingzhe saw that, and his heart was filled with delight. He held his rod with both hands before yelling, "Change!" and into 3 heads and 6 arms did he transform. He then gave the golden hooped rod a shake, and it tripled itself too. Look at him fighting his way out with 6 hands and 3 rods, like a tiger crashing into a herd of goats, or an eagle arriving at the chicken's den. Poor imps! Those who were touched had their heads smashed to pieces, and those who were stroked, their blood came flowing out like water. Rushing back and forth freely in all directions, it was as if he came into no man's land. And then all that remained was the old monster himself, who dashed out the door and shouted, "You insolent monkey are actually the unreasonable type. How can you bully a family in their own home?" Xingzhe swiftly turned around and waved at him, saying, come here, only when I defeat you can this count as merit." So the monster raised his precious broadsword and hacked right at his head, while splendid Xingzhe wielded his iron rod to take him on face to face. Above the top of the mountain and amidst cloud and fog, the two of them fought for their lives. The great sage had immense powers, but the monster also had quite the skills. The horizontal rod went against a slanted broadsword, both emitting bright colors. Flashing their eyes and waving their arms, they somersaulted and turned. Weapons going to and fro, the pair spared no mercy as they unleashed all their might. The fiery Monkey King added more fire, while the valiant monster came with more valiance. Throwing away all regards for life and death, they fought in the air, for the tongue monk still had a long way to go. The two fought for 50 to 60 rounds without declaring a victor. Xingzhe was secretly pleased as he thought to himself, "This insolent monster's broadsword is quite capable of handling Elderson's rod here. Wait till I throw him a false blunder and see if he can tell." Splendid Monkey King, he lifted his rod with both hands and assumed the position of reaching for the tall horse, which exposes one's upper body. The monster could not tell that this was a trap. He saw there was vulnerability, so he swung his treasure broadsword and hacked towards the sensitive and shameless body parts. Xingzhe, on the other hand, swiftly made a turn we call the great center flat, which positioned the rod at the center of his body to fend off the broadsword. Afterwards, he did another move called attempting to steal a peach from beneath the leaves, which resulted in a strike of the rod right on the monster's head. The monster then disappeared without a trace. Quickly withdrawing his rod to have a better look, Xingzhe could no longer find the monster. Astonished, he said, "Oh, my dear boy is so weak against the attacks that he disappeared. If I did kill him, there would be at least some blood or fluid left behind. How can there be no trace at all? I bet he just left." So he hurriedly jumped into the clouds to look. Still, no movement could be spotted in the surrounding areas. "This pair of eyes Elderson has can see everything after a swipe, no matter where. How could he be gone so fast? I know. The monster said he found me familiar. I bet he is no master of the mortal realm, but some spirit who came from the skies above." Unable to suppress his anger, the great sage seized his iron rod and somersaulted to the southern gate of heaven. Panicking, Generals Pang Liu, Gou Bi, Zhang Tao, Deng, and Xin, along with others, bowed to him from the sides. None dared obstruct him and simply let him fight his way into the heavenly gates, all the way to the hall of omnipresent brightness. The four great heavenly scholars, Zhang, Ge, Xu, and Qiu, asked, "What are you coming for, great sage?" Xingzhe answered, "We escorted the tongue monk to the precious elephant kingdom and encountered a monster who deceived the princess and hurt my master. Elderson got into a fight with him, but while we were at it, the monster disappeared. I don't think that monster came from the mortal realm. He's more likely a spirit from heaven. I came specifically to inquire if any fiendish god escaped." The scholars heard him and immediately reported to the Hall of Miraculous Mist. They were then ordered to take the role of the officers of the 9 celestial luminaries, 12 gods of the earthly branches, 5 celestial dippers from the east, west, south, north, and center, stars of the heavenly rivers, gods of the 5 mountains and 4 waters, along with all the divinity across heaven. Everyone was present, and none dare leave their positions. They then moved their search to the palace of Dipper and Bowl. Among the 28 constellations, after counting frontward and backward, only 27 remained. The only one absent was the Star of Legs. The scholars reported back saying, "Kui Mulang, Wood Wolf of Legs, has gone to the realm below." The Jade Emperor asked, "For how long has he been absent in heaven?" The scholars answered, "He has been absent for 4 roll calls. We make 1 roll call every 3 days. It's been 13 days now." The Jade Emperor said, 13 days in heaven would be 13 years in the realm below." He instantly ordered his department to retrieve him to the realm above. The 27 star officers received the edict and left the heavenly gates. They each recited a spell which disturbed the Star of Legs. Where do you think he was hiding? It turned out that he was a divine general who became terror-stricken by great sage Sun's havoc in the heavenly palace. he slipped into the mountain streams in order to evade disaster. Water vapor shielded his monster cloud, which was why he was not seen. Having heard the star officers from his own department reciting a spell, he finally had the courage to show up and follow them to the realm above. The great sage, however, blocked him at the heavenly gate so that he could beat him. It was thanks to all the stars talking him out of it that he gave up and had the monster sent to the Jade Emperor instead. Taking out a golden tablet from his waist, the monster prostrated towards his majesty and admitted his guilt. The Jade Emperor asked, "Wood Wolf of Lex, the realm above is where boundless beauty lies. You would not take that, but instead left in secret. Why is that?" The constellation of Lex kowtowed and reported, "Your Majesty, please spare your subject of the death penalty. That princess of Precious Elephant Kingdom is no mortal. She was a jade girl serving incense in the hall of shrouded fragrance who wanted to have a secret affair with me. But your subject feared it would defile the divine realm of the heavenly palace. Longing for a mortal life, she left for the world below first, and was reborn in the inner quarters of an imperial palace. Your subject did not break his promise and transformed into a monster spirit before claiming a famous mountain and abducting her into my cave dwelling. We were husband and wife for 13 years. There is no sip of water or a peck of feed that is not foreordained. Now it's successfully concluded by great sage Sun." The Jade Emperor heard his words and retrieved his golden tablet. He was thereby demoted to the Tushta Palace to tend fire for the Supreme and Venerable Elder. He was stripped of his title, but his salary remained. Should he regain merit, he could return to his old post. If not, the punishment would become heavier. Xingzhe saw how the Jade Emperor handled the matter and was quite pleased. He gestured and greeted those in the hall before telling the gods, "Everyone, thank you for taking the trouble." The scholars laughed and said, "That fiendish monkey is still quite coarse in nature. We subdued the beastly god for him, but he wouldn't even show gratitude for this heavenly favor, and instead left with a gesture." The Jade Emperor remarked, "We should consider ourselves fortunate that he isn't making a fuss and left us in peace." The great sage descended from auspicious light and turned straight toward the wavy moon cave of Concave Bow Mountain. He found the princess and gave her a serious account of how they came to the realm below out of longing and how the monster was taken. Just then, they heard that, from mid-air, Ba Jian Shamonk shouted loudly, "Elder brother, if there are monster spirits around, leave some for us to fight." Xingzhe said, "All the monsters have been wiped out." Shamonk said, "Now that the monsters have been eliminated, there is nothing to worry about. Let's take the princess back to court then. Don't open your eyes. Let us brothers use the trick of ground shortening." All the princess heard was wind blowing in her ears. Within moments, she was right back in the city. The three of them brought the princess to the hall of gold carriage. She bowed to her royal parents before meeting her sisters. All the officials also came to pay respect to her. The princess then reported, "I owe it to Elder Sun, who has immense powers. He subdued the yellow-robed monster and brought me back to my kingdom." The king asked, "What sort of monster is that yellow robe?" Xingzhe answered, "Your Majesty, your royal son-in-law is the Star of Lex from the realm above. Your daughter is a jade girl who served incense. Because she longed for a mortal life, she descended upon the human world. This is no small matter. Their past lives and foreordained destiny made this relationship certain to take place." Elder Sun reported to the Jade Emperor up in the heavenly palace about the monster. The Jade Emperor found out he had been absent for 4 roll calls and remained in the realm below for 13 days. That would be 13 years, for a day in the realm above is a year in the realm below. They therefore sent the star officials from his department to take him back up. He's now banished at the Tushta Palace and must re-earn merit as punishment. Elder Sun, on the other hand, managed to rescue your daughter." The king thanked Xingzhe for his kind help and then said, "Let's go see your master." The 3 disciples then came out of the treasure hall and followed the officials into a palace room. An iron cage was carried out and the fake tiger was freed from the iron chains. Everyone else saw him as a tiger. Only Xingzhe could see that he was human. As it turned out, the master was trapped by the spells of a monster spirit. He could not walk, and even though his heart could understand everything, he could not open his mouth or eyes. 行者 laughed and said, "Oh, master, you are a good monk. How did you end up with such a frightening look? You blamed me for committing violent crimes and banished me. You wanted to use your heart for good. Why is it that you look like this now?" 八戒 said, "Oh, big brother, please help him. Don't ridicule his flaws." 行者 retorted, "It was you who abetted everything. You were the fine disciple he's so proud of. Why don't you save him instead? Why have Elderson here at all? Originally, I told you that I would head back, after subduing the monster and taking revenge for his insults." Shaman came forward and knelt down, saying, "Oh, big brother, as the ancients say, even if you won't regard a monk, you should at least regard Buddha. Now that elder brother has come, I beg that you save him from the ordeal. If we could do it, we wouldn't have invited you over from so far away, would we?" Xing Zhe helped him up with his hands and said, "In what world would I allow myself to not save him? Quickly, bring me water." 八戒 then dashed back to the lodge and collected the luggage and horse. He then took out the violet gold bowl and half filled it with water before handing it to Xing Zhe. Xing Zhe held the water in his hands and recited a true spell. He then spit the water straight onto the tiger's head. The monster's spell was therefore broken, and the aura of a tiger dissolved. The elder, having reappeared in his original body, calmed himself and focused his eyes to look before recognizing Xing Zhe. He clutched him and said, "Wukong, where did you come from?" Sha Monk was by his side supporting him before detailing everything from inviting Xing Zhe to subdue the monster, saving the princess, breaking the tiger spell, and all that took place in the royal court. Sanzang could not thank him enough, so he said, "My wise disciple, I owe you so. We shall head off from here and soon make it to the west before returning to the land of the east. I will report to the Tang Emperor that your merit shall be the highest." Xing Zhe laughed and said, don't mention it. As long as you don't recite that spell, that will be enough for me to feel your deep love." The king heard all this and thanked the four of them again. And then a vegetarian banquet was held, and the guest halls were opened wide for the occasion. Master and disciples enjoyed the royal favors before bidding farewell to the king and heading west. The king also led his many officials a long distance to send them off. It truly was. Returning to his treasure hall, the monarch has secured his land. Heading to Thunderclap, the monk is there to worship Buddha. We do not know what happens next or when they'll arrive in West Heaven. Please wait until the next chapter.